Welcome, Millennium Art Academy Theater students, to our most recent Inside the Actor Studio. With us today is a very good special friend of mine, Andrew Divoff, who is an actor, producer, friend, humanitarian extraordinary.
Thank you.
So I'd like to welcome you
Thank
to our home, my school home.
Thank you.
With my school children.
Very cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
That was so satisfying.
Was that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. This is Courtney, by the way.
Hi, Courtney.
So everybody, I want to very quickly talk about how Andy and I met, if I may.
Yeah, please.
And then we'll do a little quick interview, and then I'm going to shush my tush, and you guys are going to take over. Nat is going to have the mic, and you guys all have some time to do a Q&A, and then you can all come on up and meet Andy.
Very cool. Very cool. We'll do maybe we can do a group picture?
Yes, please.
Cool.
That would be amazing. Cool. Amazing. So, guys, I met Andy in 2023 on my film set, as a matter of fact. Dee Wallace, who is a great friend of both of ours, spoke to Andy about a role that I had, and I begged her to get Andy involved. And luckily, we were blessed to have Andy as part of our production, and so we met and we became very fast friends. My mom loves him, my sister loves him, everybody who meets him loves him. The gents from the Fuzz and the Lens group, I don't know if you know who they are, but they love him as well.
Thank you.
You're just an amazing person.
Well, that's very kind. And the love is reciprocated. I love you guys. I love the Fuzz on the Lens. And I really appreciate all of you. I know, you know, you got so many things going on here, and to take some time out to be here and listening to this fool, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, really, thank you for being here. You know, Andy's from LA, so he was in for a horror convention over the weekend and extended his stay to come be with us.
Yeah.
So really, really gracious of you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you so much.
My pleasure.
And I
brother.
cherish our friendship.
Thank you, brother. And likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I've got some questions for you. And I'd like to know how I actually heard that your very first role you auditioned at, this is Google.
Yeah.
So I'm checking.
All right.
Your very first role you got through a telephone audition, is that true?
That's true. That's
Wow.
true.
Can you
So
tell us?
I was driving a limo at the time, and so they needed a limo driver who spoke Russian, and I do. I speak Russian. I speak 8 languages and smatterings of another few. So, but they wouldn't see me because they didn't know who my agent was, and so you know you got to have that connection. And so I stopped, and we had beepers, no cell phones at that time, so it was a beeper and pull over at a payphone, and then they said, well, we'll say this line, and I said the line. And then they said, okay, now scream it. And I think the line was something like, stop or I'll shoot. And that's, stop, strileu. And they said, okay, now really scream it. I did. And they said, okay, you're hired. I got hired over the telephone. So, I screamed that line. I was holding the gun, and I thought, wow, man, I'm a star, dude. So, that was a very cool day, very different for me, but very cool.
This question was asked of you throughout the day, but maybe some of you didn't get to hear the answer. I'm curious, your favorite role you've ever played of the over 500 characters that you've played?
I think Luis Cali in Toy Soldiers, which was a movie about a terrorist whose father is in prison, and he feels the terrorist, my character, felt that wasn't right, and so he's going to make stuff right. So what he does is he goes to a school and he takes all the kids hostage. So y'all don't know, but that's about to happen.
That's it. Just kidding.
Oh my God.
So that was, my father, I attended Georgetown University. And I went there for linguistics and languages and Russian area studies. And truth be told, I was frankly unprepared. I was unprepared for it. I hadn't, like you guys, I hadn't been paying attention at my school, been goofing off. I was the classroom cut up, and I thought, well, that's as cool as you got to be, and I was wrong. Anyway, so I took some time off from school at Georgetown. I guess I'm still kind of on sabbatical. Maybe I'll go back sometime. But my father would tell all of his friends and family who would listen that, oh yeah, no, my son's going to be a professor. And I was hearing this and I'm going, ooh, yes, I don't know about that. And so when I told him, when I came out to California, he retired. He headed up Goodyear in Venezuela. I was born in Venezuela, lived there till I was 10. And then my folks got divorced. I came up with moms and my younger sister. And then we moved around in about 1973, Mom's got a job with the embassy in Spain. And so I lived in Barcelona, a beautiful place, for about 5 years. And then coming back, so I figured I'd take some time off from school and help my father. So he was retiring from Venezuela. He came up and he had a condo and he was in Malibu. And so I figured Malibu, beach town, I can learn how to surf, cool. And so I helped him move in. And then I started driving a limo. And he kept thinking, well, what am I doing hanging out? Why am I still hanging out? Why aren't you back in school? So I shared that with him. And the reason that Toy Soldiers is my favorite movie is become, he transitioned. And so he didn't want me to be an actor. When I told him I wanted to be an actor, he looked at me like, man, like I wasn't even family anymore. So, fast forward to the premiere of Toy Soldiers, and the movie shows, they showed it at the Hollywood Directors Guild, and so when they say everybody was there, all the big names, they wanted to see this new movie, and Daniel Petrie had a lot of connections. He was the writer-director. And so all the big studio heads came in, and after the movie, everybody stood up and clapped and all that, and I did a Q&A as well there, and so, but then all of a sudden I'm looking around the room and I can't see my pops, and I'm looking around and I go, where's my pops? And so the thing that made it for me and changed it for him is I went outside and I saw him, and he had this look on his face like he was looking at me like in a totally new and different light. And so nothing had to be spoken. I just saw that look and I said, wow. I felt so good. I felt so good. Yeah.
You know, I heard you talk about that in one of the classes earlier, and it brought to mind a film many of us may have seen, Dead Poets Society. Has anybody ever seen?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really the antithesis of what happens in that story, where the dad also didn't want his child to perform, and the child did it behind his father's back, and he was in A Midsummer Night's Dream, which many of us are in. You guys have to see Dead Poets Society. We need to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
But, and so the father gets wind that his son is disobeying his rule, was in the role, and comes to the show. And at the end of the show, rather than, realizing that this is a passion that his son has, they get into a huge argument, and the son goes home and does something awful to himself. And I guess it does show you the power that, I guess we're older than they are, right? But when you guys get older, you realize the power as parents that you have over your child's life and future, and their dreams and aspirations. And it also brings to mind Paulo Coelho's introduction to his novel, The Alchemist. And it talks about how there are 4 obstacles in life. And one of the obstacles is that the ones who love us sometimes are our biggest obstacle, because they'll say, "Oh, that's not for you. That's not for you."
Yeah.
And if you give in to that, you might never achieve your
And
your
segue
goal.
into a beautiful word that you used, conviction. You have to love your family back, no matter what you're getting. You love them back, but know you're here for a reason, and you're here because you believe in yourselves. And by believing in yourselves, you have conviction. And you know that no matter what rains, what winds, what storms come at you, you can walk through them, you can get to the other side. But you've got to have that conviction. Keep believing. Keep believing. That's so important. And you know that. You know that by now. Yeah, we're older. We've had experience. Your experiences are now, and they're coming in the future. But believe in yourselves. That's why you're here.
Can you share a time where your conviction got you through?
Yeah, and I can also share a time when I had, after a couple of, good showings, good movies came out, and so my conviction came through. But then, there are times when we slip and we fall and we think, well, what's going on? Why am I slipping? Why aren't I continuing? You can't bat 1,000, to use the baseball sort of metaphor. Sometimes you strike out. And so those times, as important as it is to have that conviction and believe in it, you have to know that sometimes those storms will hit hard and will knock you down, but you have to believe no matter how long that period is when you're down, you have to believe that, like they say, another metaphor, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So keep believing. And just know that everybody goes through it. I remember, and I won't say what it was, I turned down a role after just finishing another 48 Hours, which was the sequel with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, and I played a biker in that. And I had such a good time. It was a beautiful experience, but somehow, and so another role came up, a similar role, and I just kind of felt, how you touch a hot stove and you think, I didn't feel I had that conviction. Something was missing, and I was wondering why I didn't have that. What was up? And so I turned the role down, and this was, goodness, 30 years ago, and to this day, that director hasn't spoken to me. And so, you know what? My bad, but his bad too. We could have been, even if just to be able to walk by and say, hey, how you doing? Let's have a coffee, whatever. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Yeah. That's my favorite radio station, by the way.
WMAA. So you've played so many roles, and I loved your performance in Toy Soldiers. Really,
Thank you.
it is my favorite as well.
Thank you.
Are there any experiences that you've had on set where things might have been stressful or difficult, and how do you battle that? Because I know we have lots of some theater kids here who are looking to be, raise your hand if you want to be an actor in either Broadway or film, TV. We've got a lot of people who want to be in your shoes.
I got to clap.
They see the glamour, they see the glitz. Can you share what might a set look like where things aren't going great? What craziness might they walk into? Maybe even a Pitchfork retreat set. But what craziness?
So preparation, and it trickles down. So it all depends on the leader of the group. The leader of the group is the director, as you know. He manages, he wields really an unspoken power, an understood power over the set, and as it should be. Sometimes what trickles down is not you're not getting confidence, you're not getting from the top, you're not getting a person who is assured, and sometimes that self-doubt can trickle down and infect a whole set or a whole. So you in your minds, you got to be ready for stuff to go sideways. One of the tricks that I use to prepare for a role, besides doing my history before I really start the prep, I do my history about where did this character come from, what's his favorite food, what's his music, what does he listen to, what might have turned him into the person that he is now. But always, and most importantly, you have to know that when you come to a set, stuff is going to go sideways. And so when I prep now, when I start learning the script, I've got 3 radios on, 2 TVs on, all different channels blaring, and I've got my earphones in. All this noise is going all around, but I've got my earphones in. I'm listening to my dialogue. I record my dialogue. I record all of the characters, and eventually I'll leave a space for my character, and I'll listen to the other characters, and I'll walk around, and I'll walk into the different rooms with the different sounds and the stuff going on, because know that although artists should be respected, we are not always respected, and people have their own stuff that they're going to be doing, and they have their own sort of agenda, if you will. They know that that day they got to get this much done, and as you know, you're there, you're on the scene, but you're somebody walking in front of them, and they don't. It doesn't really. They got their stuff to do, so you got to know that. You can't take it personally, you know. So I like to prepare with a lot of chaos going on, because I know there's going to be chaos, even on the most perfect set. So yeah, know that.
And I think my last question before I turn it over to them is, what advice can you share for these young people who want to one day be in your shoes? What can they expect? What should they look out for? And what can get them there?
I think your most immediate experiences, like today, what's happening today. We're interacting. It's important to be in the moment of where you are. It's important to think ahead, to have a vision, yeah, but don't look too far ahead. It's happening right now, right in front of you. So every day, every moment that you can, be aware, know, and every now and then stop and think, wow, that was a very cool little moment, or you know, that was something that I was hoping I could do and I achieved it. Or you might say to yourself, you know what, that was good, but it's not as good as I know I can do. So I would say most importantly, be in the moment, be aware. Yeah.
So I'm going to introduce you to somebody. Natalia, would you rise? So. Natalia is a senior at our school, and she is the director of In the Heights, which we are putting on in the spring. Natalia also is an employee of the school, or of our after-school program, and she gets paid for doing what she does.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
Natalia has sort of taken over sort of the presidency of theater in our school. She and Marcos, who you met earlier.
Yes, I did.
You met earlier.
Yeah.
And Natalia, I have asked to lead our Q&A. So I just wanted to introduce you.
Very cool.
Natalia, I'm putting you on the spot. I'd like you to ask the first question and then pass the mic around.
Oh, okay.
Mic up.
Okay. Hi. I guess the question I would have would be like, what is like, I guess, the first step that we should all take? Because I know most of this, like all of you guys like raised your hand, or most of you raised your hand, wanted to be a performer someday. So for you, everybody's first step is different. But what was like yours?
My first step was, you know, I mentioned driving a limo, and I thought to myself, you know, my mind is always going. I speak a few languages. I always have to keep my mind active, keep it trained, make sure that it's fed, you know. And so for me, I was driving around, and I knew that in a couple of hours, this ride pickup from the airport to wherever they were going was going to be over. Then what do I do? So I thought, you know what? And I kept driving by this acting class, and I thought, yeah, man, I don't think I have the gumption to go in there. I just don't know. It was about cold reading, and so cold reading is the important thing when you go audition. And you might get the sheet right there, and they'll say, you got 5 minutes. You know, look it out, and you got to figure out what's the important stuff. And so I knew that, okay, I knew if I was going to start, if I was going to be serious about this, I had to get the cold reading part down. I had to be able to get handed 1 or 2 sheets of paper, look at the character, and figure out all the stuff I told you before about what's the background, what makes this person tick. And then get out there and literally read, but you know, keep eye contact. So, you know, bouncing back and forth. I would say, you know, go buy a book, open it to the middle of the page. Go buy especially a theater book, you know, a play, and something you're not familiar with, and then open it to whatever page. Pick that character and start and look it over for a few minutes, and then get in front of the mirror, get to know yourself, get to know that character. Cold reading is an important thing. It's your first impression, and that's extremely important.
Well, yes. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay. My question is,
Can
when
we
you're,
start with your name? Can everybody start with their name?
my
So you
name
get a
is
chance to speak.
Anaya.
Hi, Anaya.
And my question is, when you're in a movie or a play, do you usually go through hair and makeup? How long does it take to do, and do you enjoy it?
You know, I do. And it's a time to sort of reflect. And again, we know that on set, and we were mentioning, there are so many people that make one thing happen, and one thing being the show, the movie, right? There's makeup, there's catering, there's food, there's producers, there's assistant producers who are usually kids, and I say that with all due respect, starting out who might, and you know, they get told by the star of the movie, go, you know, would you get me a coffee please, or whatever. They're starting out essentially from the mail room, learning it that way up. I think being in makeup gives an actor a moment to be with himself, not only with himself about the character and looking in the mirror. Get very used to looking in the mirror. It's not an ego thing. It's nothing but look at yourself in the mirror. Remember we said be in the moment, be in the moment. Check it out. See how you're doing. As makeup comes on, you are becoming that character. It's infiltrating your body, your way of being. And I would just say it usually takes half an hour. It can take 4 hours, depending if you're doing like a prosthetic thing, which I did for the genie, the evil genie thing. But it gives you a chance to get to watch your character come to life. Thank you, Anaya.
Michael, for over your 500 characters, were there any characters that really made you feel like that you just didn't want to do it? And if you ended up doing it, what made you push through that, like, hill?
It's a good question, and so a lot of times you will come upon a character that you have some doubts about doubts being, can I even play the character? Doubts, do I want to play the character? And once you've committed to the character, know that you're committed, regardless of whatever else comes up. You gotta fight sometimes our minds, the scheme of things in our brains as they progress, as the character, as your role, as your participation in that movie grows. You may not like the way it's going, but you've committed. And so find a way to love the character. Sometimes, and you know what, it is up to you. Now, of course, if you come in, they've maybe said that we think you're right for the role, and then, you know, maybe you don't. There are gives and takes. There are things that happen. You have to know that, that you know, we're all human and we all have our own way of thinking about things. You not feeling good about a character might even be offensive, say, to the writer or director. So you have to take that into consideration. But I think commitment. It comes down to the commitment, and if you're ready to commit, and I would say also, if you do have questions, ask the writer, director, sit and figure out what, you know, tell them honestly why you're having maybe some second thoughts about it, and you know, you can work it out. If it works out, if you want it to work out, it will.
Okay, I'm gonna
Thank you, Mike.
finish up on this side of the room and then go to the middle.
Okay, hi, my name is Samantha, and
Hi.
I have a question. Like, since you played a lot of roles, what was one of the worst, and how did you cope with that? Like, how do you
What
manage?
was one of the?
Like worst experience or one of your worst like roles? Like, so how do you cope
Yeah,
with that?
yeah. So I again, I won't mention names, and it was a silly thing. It had nothing to do with the acting. There's such a thing in my union, in the Screen Actors Guild, where you can be hired for a movie, and in that movie, the producers have a chance to say, well, we're gonna set you off for a couple of weeks, and then you'll come back, but we won't pay you for those couple of weeks. That's their prerogative, and so that can't happen but once. Well, on this particular show, and it was a big show, and I was actually hired, I started out as a stuntman, so I was hired to do the fight with the lead actor. And apparently I heard that a bunch of actors had, when the director told them, he said, now, if you happen to clip the lead actor, that's a $5 million day. And so they kind of freaked and said, no, I don't want to do it. I wanted to do it. But then it turned out we got up to Christmas time, and they had already dropped me one time. And then they were going to drop me for Christmas. And they asked me, they said, and you got to stick to your guns. They said, are you going to come back if we drop you? And I said, no. And the fight hadn't happened yet. And that was like one of the most important things of this particular movie, the story. And they threw everybody at me, everybody down the line. They said, you're not going to come back? And I said, no, I'm not. And so you got to stick to your guns. And that made it uncomfortable, and it had nothing to do with the acting or my relationship with the lead, who was a very well-known actor and a beautiful human in his own right. I had a chance to meet a lot of beautiful people, but that director and I, let me put it this way, it wasn't until, so I sat around for like 6 months. Really, walk over here and do that and carry the gun, whatever. But until he saw the fight and how it went, and until the lead actor said, wow, this guy knows his stuff, then it was a whole different thing. But you have to believe in yourself. Again, it is the commitment. I committed. I said I would do what I would do. You said you'd do what you do. Now you want to change it up. Yeah, that's right. Good question.
Hi, my name is Z.
Hi.
You met me already earlier, but what's your favorite line from like any of your roles?
Let's see. I think. Oh man, there's so many. I think, and there are so many that have some really ugly words in them. But I would, goodness, would you do me a favor? Let me think on that a little. Yeah. Please. Please. I will.
Hi, my name's Star. I have a question towards like your first time acting. Did you ever had stage fright? How did you overcounter it?
Did I ever have?
Stage fright.
Oh, always, and still, and you know how your teachers and directors, everybody says, use it. That's absolutely true. That energy, so that you can turn fear into a positive energy. You recognize it, know that it's there. Don't lie to yourself. Don't say it's not there. Be honest with yourself. And that's why, again, getting in front of a mirror and rehearsing, for instance, a scene, rehearsing your monologue that might be a favorite thing, is important. But yeah, you turn that fear into a positive. You make it work for you. You channel it. It is energy that you can channel any way you want.
Hi, my name is Kaylee.
Hi.
What movie, the one that you did, which one touched you the most?
I say there was a movie early on, and a friend of mine who was a director asked me if I would consider doing it. Oddly enough, it was playing a director in a movie called Touch Me, and this would have been 1989, 90, and it was right about then. The AIDS epidemic was still a very. I mean, it was on everybody's lips, on everybody's minds, and I remember that the story touched me, and I also remember that I for me at that time I had a good payday. I went down for a day. And that was, I got paid $1,500, and I donated it to AIDS LA, the AIDS LA project. So that touched me. That obviously left an impression.
We have about 5 more minutes.
Oh, so I'm gonna take.
And I do want my musical theater class to have a chance to sing for you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
My name is Aiden Solar, and what costumes do you use to make the play? What do you use the costumes to make the play? What costumes do you use to make the play that you do?
Costumes.
So costumes, I very rarely had a chance to participate in costumes, but I did a little bit in something called Wishmaster, which was a kind of a Halloween thing, right? And so that was prosthetic makeup, and Robert Kurtzman, he's the K in KNB Effects. They won an Oscar for Narnia, a beautiful. And I would just love going down to their warehouse, their project house, and watch them sculpt and do all the stuff. And then I had very little input, but I mean, as far as the nails on the piece, and at first they were metal, and so they were kind of heavy. And when I would do something, like make something happen, these things would go flying across the room. And so we had to turn those into silicone, which made it a lot easier. But I got to say that I didn't think I would have as much fun as I did wearing that costume. And of course, latex is kind of like wrapping a heavy-ass rubber band around your head and trying to articulate and make it look like, you're forming gestures. It was really kind of hard, but at the end of the day, it was fun. And they literally showed me how that worked. They said, take a look at this, and so the director would tell me, it's going to seem like you're overacting under there, but you have to in order to get the most minimal gesture across. So, thank you.
I know a lot of you had your hands up here, but I'm gonna move to this side because they need no here, the middle, because I want everyone on each side to have, and I don't want you guys to hate me. Okay.
Hi, I'm Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
You have like a really like storytelling voice. Do you like read books to like people or like?
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you for that question. I would love to. So a few of you may have played and maybe you still do this Call of Duty thing. So I played Kravchenko, the Russian guy, for like 12 years. But the very cool thing, I told you that I started as a stuntman. I think I'm one of the only guys that got to do the voice and the physical. So I wore that weird suit, with all the little buttons on it. But I would love to do books. I would love that. One of my favorite, I don't know how many of you have seen Shawshank Redemption.
Wow.
James Whitmore in that. The guy who holds a knife to you, and because he doesn't want to get booted out of prison. It's the only thing he knows, right? That guy had such a beautiful voice, and he would do a lot of National Geographic stuff. And I drove him when I was driving a limo. I drove him what a gentleman, truly a gentleman. And I thought to myself, so I'd kind of try to pick his brain. And I always, what kind of tweaks me off is when I, like for instance, they're doing a National Geographic thing about maybe somewhere in Europe, and they pronounce the names, and I'm going, oh man, no, like maybe a Latin name or a French or a German name. Well, I can do that, and I want to do that, and it's not about being haughty or being presumptuous about it. It's about giving respect to that word or that name or that thought. So, are you going to call somebody for me and help me out here? Get a job. Read a book. You got a book I can read, maybe record?
I don't know. I mean, I'm currently writing a book.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Call me.
Thank
you, Corey.
Good morning. I'm Nasir.
Good morning,
you know me
Nasir.
as Nas. And I just have like for any movie or show that you've done, like have you ever done something that nobody asked or even wanted you to do, but you did it anyway?
Yeah.
And then and then it helped everybody out. Like it made the show easier, made the movie easier.
And this will go back to answer your question about what line, right? And so I did. I was in New York. I did SVU, Special Victims Unit, Law and Order. And there was a thing where, now mind you, now they got reins on me, and now I'm an actor, but I'm getting to do a little bit of stunts. And so there was a thing where I was 2 stories up, and I'm diving over a rail, and everybody kept saying, and Chris Maloney, the lead actor, you know, he said, okay, well, you know, don't jump over that, don't do that. And I wouldn't dream of it. And so I would go up to the rail and I would make like I was going to jump, and then there's the cut, right? And then right before we actually filmed that part of the scene, I went to the director because I had to respect the director, and I said, I'm going over. And he said, what? And I said, I'm going over, I'm jumping. And he says, okay. And so I remember action, and I do my thing, and I'm running. They're chasing me, so I'm running. Bink! I go over, and everybody's freaking like, they didn't know. I knew that the pads were there. They didn't. And so Chris was kind of freaked. And when they called cut, he goes, no, no, no. And he walks to the end, and he looks over, and I'm like down there. All good, all good. And so the part of the thing of that was I was an exotic animal smuggler, Russian guy. And so at one point he comes in and he sees this Bengal tiger. And this is about the line you asked me about, my favorite quote, one of my favorite lines. And so I'm sitting down, and again, I reached out to the director, Peter Leno, and I said, and we were in a warehouse, and they had a hibachi, and they were cooking stuff, and I said, I want you to make it really rare. And I want, when I eat it, and my character's name was Bushido. And so I said, I want to be eaten with some chopsticks. And so I remember, I said, barely, you know, barely sizzle it, cook it barely. And I said, and I want a little cup of that special blood, that candy blood, right? So that when I speak and I smile, I want that blood rinsing over the teeth, right? And so at one point, so Chris's character says to me, you know, where's that tiger? Where's that Bengal tiger? And I'm just about to put a piece in my mouth, and I smile. And I got the blood rinsing over, and I go, tasty bugger, isn't he? And so he kind of freaks out, and the very, very cool part of it was it made an impression. But happy to say that it was so beautiful working with heroes of mine who I had seen on TV, Chris Meloni, Mariska Hargitay, and like I say, Peter Leno. That was, as you can tell, it was one of my favorites. Yeah.
One more question. As we get there, I will say, working with you, sir, is working with my hero that I watched.
Oh, so. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No,
very
really.
kind. Very kind, man.
Last question goes to my assistant director during fourth period. Right. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
So what are the main pros and cons that you personally have of being an actor that you want to share for?
So I would say a pro is always preparation, and the con to that would be over preparation. You know, my acting coach, I was lucky enough to have Milton Katselas as my acting coach. Many of you may or may not know him, but he would say something that I found very profound, and that is that in absolute discipline there is absolute freedom. Once you have prepared to a point where you feel comfortable, and I don't mean over-prepared, I don't mean going back and back, when you're assured, when you're convinced, when you have that conviction that you've prepared in yourself and you've been disciplined to get there, then once you get on set, man, I mean, it opens up, a yes can become a no, and you can even play that, you don't have to say the word. Absolute discipline is absolute freedom. Yeah.